Hey, what's up guys? I'm gonna unbox and review this new Vanpowers Urbanglide Pro. So this thing has a 500 watt motor. It has a torque sensor, it has hydraulic disc brakes, and it looks awesome. So let's unbox this thing and go from there. So the tools and accessories come well packaged inside this box, and this Allen wrench set actually looks like the nicest one I've ever seen during an unboxing. It's actually a full set. We got the pedals right here, we got the keys right here, we have the bell right here, we have the flashlight right here, we have a reflector, we have the display right here, we have the user's manual right here, and we have the app manual for your phone. It's 240 volts. The output is 54.6 volts at 4 amps, which means its wattage is a little over 200 watts. You would just multiply volts and amps and you would get wattage. And that's the power plug right there. And yep, this is the cable for it. And here's a closer look at the saddle with the seat post and with some adjustments right there that you could adjust with these. So good to go there. So if you loosen the screw, you can actually adjust the handlebar to the angle that you like. I'm just going to leave it on the default 0 degrees that it came with. That seems fine for me. But it's nice that they give you customization. So the battery is removable. You do need the key, so you insert it in, turn it counterclockwise by 90 degrees, and it pops out. And then if you turn it full 180 degrees, it'll actually come out. So this is where you would charge it from, which is pretty much the same exact place as when it's on the bike. It would just go through that hole, and it would go right here. And these are all the pins that connect to the bike. And then you also have an indicator right here. And when you're actually charging it, it's blinking. So it does show you that it's charging right there as well. And then to basically slide it back in and then turn this around, boom, and you're done. Super easy. So when you get the bike brand new, there's this rubber piece that's closed inside this, basically inside the battery. It's just attached like that. And it actually took me quite a while to take this piece out. And the trick was that I had to basically push this in, take it out, and then continuously unlock it and lock it. And then finally, I was able to take it out. You see how that happened? So that was really the only way I could take that out. So one thing that would be nice is if they either not put anything there or put a much thinner piece that would cause less issues. But it took me some time to figure out that I had to basically push this in and close the key and then do it a couple times, and then it came out. For the controls, we have our front hydraulic disc brakes and our rear hydraulic disc brakes. We have our throttle. We have the power button. Hold it for a few seconds. Screen will go on. It says Digitech, writing involved. And then we have it's a beautiful screen, gives us our speed in miles an hour, gives us our trip and our odometer and our battery percentage on the right, and the time, which I need to adjust. But essentially, if you press plus, it's gonna go to the pedal assist. 5 gives you the most assist, it goes the fastest, and 1 is the least assist, N is no assist, basically riding it like a normal bike. If you hold the plus button down, it does turn on the lights and it dims the screen a bit, and hold it again, it turns off the lights. So we have our bell, and then we have our gear selectors, so we can either go up in gear or go down in gear essentially. So if you hold plus and minus for a few seconds, it takes you to the sit-in menu, which I'm gonna zoom into so you guys could see it a little bit better. So display unit, you could change it from kilometers and miles, so you just hit the power button and it changes. I'm gonna leave it in miles. So backlit brightness, you can adjust that, so you could leave it on auto, or you could change it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just leave it on auto. Auto light, you can have it on or off. Auto power off, 10 minutes, you could change that, which will turn off the bike if you don't use it. This is where you would set the time. That's what I need to do. And then password, here is something you can actually enable. By default, it's disabled, but you can actually enable this, go to change password, and then you could just set a password that would be required to turn on the bike. So if I change it to 1,000, for example, then when I would turn on the bike the next time around, I would actually need to enter in that password. And then clear trip, Bluetooth connection. This is where the QR code on this bike is. So if you're trying to get the app for this, this is where you need to go. I was actually looking all over the bike. I couldn't find the QR code, and I'm like, is it in the menu somewhere? And then this is where it was. So this is what you need to scan to get the app. And then system info, just the version number, and then boom, back. There it is. So this is what the app looks like. Once you scan that QR code, it registers the bike to you, and then you could go to settings and change your settings directly from here. If you wanted to, you could change it to kilometers and miles, and then you can even do your firmware upgrades from here. There's also a navigation system option, which I'm not going to go to, it's just so I won't have to show where I'm at right now. But basically, you could use that as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it in terms of the app. So I'm going to do a firmware upgrade, and we're going to go for a ride. First of all, let me just say that the color on this bike is next level. It literally is the most beautiful color I've seen on a bike, or even on a scooter for that matter. Legit car paint quality, and yes, it does match my shoes, so VanPowers gets extra points for that. Now, I took this thing out for a spin to get a better feel, and let me just say that this thing is very fun to ride. Easy to get up to the rated max speed of 20 miles an hour, especially on the flats. Now, something different about this bike versus other e-bikes that I've tested is that this thing has a torque sensor. So what does that mean? Now, usually with e-bikes, you need to pedal 2 to 3 rotations for the motor to kick in and help. However, because this thing has a torque sensor, it's literally instant. As soon as you start pedaling, it kicks in right away. So it gives you a very smooth feel. It's honestly absurdly smooth, which really matches the premium build quality of this bike. Now, let's start with the pedal assist feature. At the lower end of the assist, it averages around 10 miles an hour or so without much effort on pedaling. As you raise the assist all the way up to 5 basically, it more easily jumps to higher speeds and again caps at 20 miles an hour on the flats. Now, pedaling is just about effortless. It's literally like you're moving your legs in free motion, if I can describe it that way, minus the hills, which does require a tad bit of effort. Still relatively easy to ride up compared to a normal bike, but again, you do feel it a little bit more on the inclines. Now, without assist, it feels just like a regular bike, but it is on the heavier side. So, if you want to work out, then disable pedal assist and it will deliver. Now, if you're wondering, yes, you can ride it like a normal bike if the battery dies. But again, it is on the heavier side, about 70 pounds or so, or 32 kilograms. So it will definitely give you a workout, but doable if you're used to biking. Now, I did ride this thing in various scenarios from flats to inclines and declines, and I also tested the throttle feature. So just an FYI, throttles are typically used one of two ways. Number one is to help you initially from a stop, since most e-bikes require 2 to 3 rotations for the motor to kick in. But because this is a torque sensor, using the throttle this way is kind of useless, since when you start pedaling, the motor immediately kicks in. So it's almost like the throttle to help you at the beginning is kind of built in. Now, the second way, which is really the only valid way for this bike, or the intended way, I should say, for this bike, is if you don't feel like pedaling, then you don't need to. You can literally just hold the throttle. It does drain the battery a lot faster, so keep that in mind, but it will literally take you without pedaling at all. It will even take you up decent hills, which I actually tried from a dead stop. It literally took me up, even though I weigh around 200 pounds, which is 91 kilos. It literally took me up the hill, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. So if it works on the hills, then it definitely works on the flats. So if you're not in the mood to pedal, then really you just don't need to. Now, shifting to gears is also very smooth, but like most e-bikes, it's almost kind of pointless, minus the steepest of inclines when you're using pedal assist, because really during pedal assist the motor is really helping out quite a bit. It really is almost effortless pedaling. So I typically don't shift gears unless it's, again, a super steep incline. Unless if I want to work out, then obviously I would turn off pedal assist or put it on the super low level. Then yeah, I would shift gears, and it is very smooth. Now, as far as comfort, whether I was on the sidewalk or the asphalt, the bike was very comfortable, the suspension works, and the saddle is fairly soft, creating a decently smooth ride. Now, I normally take some of these bikes off-roading, but this isn't really designed for that, so I just tried it over some grass, and I really just handled that like a champ. But again, this is really designed more for paved roads, and it's also fairly agile as I took it through some paths, and it was genuinely pretty easy to ride. For the downhills, this bike does exceed its maximum speed limit, if you guys are wondering, and I'll touch on that shortly for my after ride thoughts, but this bike feels stable and is equipped with hydraulic disc brakes, which are essentially the best of the best brakes. Buttery smooth, linear feel, just an absolute pleasure to use. All right, so I just got back from my ride a few minutes ago, set up the camera. Let's take a look at some numbers here. So the battery's at 54%, I started at 100%, and going down 46%, I traveled 22.6 kilometers according to the GPS tracks on my iPhone, which pretty much lines up with the Pixel watches at 14 miles. And I did a maximum ascent of 322 meters. There were more than a decent number of hills that I climbed, and with a maximum speed on the downhills of 61.8 kilometers, which is around a little over 38 miles an hour. Again, on the downhills. On the flats, it does max out at 20 miles an hour. So let's just take a closer look at the bike. These brakes are just phenomenal. These hydraulic brakes are just phenomenal. They're on a different level. Everything's legit. The only thing that kind of doesn't belong with this bike is this bell. I feel like they could have put one of those electronic bells, and that would just make a noise, because this feels, it works just fine, but the bike is kind of too advanced for that bell, essentially. But everything's legit. The fenders held up well, no scratching, no nothing. As long as this bolt right there is tight, you should be good to go. Again, the brakes are amazing. The tires stayed in place with this lock. Battery doesn't move or anything. There is no shaking when you're riding. The pedals, everything, the derailleur, the gears, everything. It's just hands down very, very good quality. This is very good quality. Like, essentially the bike feels like it's one piece. There is probably a little, well, not probably, there is a little bit of oil that fell from the chain because it's new and it's oiled, which is a good thing. You know, the brakes work just fine with these lights, and yeah, brakes, everything. It's just a legit bike. And after a while, if the bike doesn't turn on, you basically have to push this, and it's kind of like your key in a way, in a little bit. So once you just push this and let it go, the bike will turn on. So if the bike isn't turning on because you haven't turned it on in a while, you do have to push this and then the bike will turn on. But aside from that, suspension, legit, everything about this bike is, everything but the bell is very, very good quality.